Hello guys, this is Trinity Storm here and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to do 6th part of What If Naruto was the savior of the Holy Grail. If you enjoy this video, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget to follow me on my other social media handles. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
Residence Emiya. I see. One servant has already left. Saber said as she sat there listening to what happened at school, and you didn't call me Shuru. I'm going to do it. But, after seeing how much Saviour has already helped us, I don't think it's necessary. Shuru stood up for himself. Shuru, however, I am your servant. You must still contact me in that situation. Saber, please correct me. I believe Emiya-kun is correct as well. Rin chimed in, it's not that we didn't believe in your abilities, but we all know Saviour is a formidable servant. It also saves the command seal. Emiya-kun didn't have to activate his command seal. But what if Saviour turned on you? Saber inquired. Do you think Saviour will do it? It's the same as saying you'll give up your knighthood. Saber had to hold her breath after Rin retorted. The servant of sword inhales deeply. She calms herself before letting it out slowly, then opens her eyes with a hint of regret. I'm sorry, Rin and Shuru. You are correct, Saviour is a person of admiration and honor. If he wanted to lend a helping hand, I'm sure he meant it. It's only. Saber trailed behind, a bitter expression on her face. It was because she was offended by what Saviour said. I'm furious that he mentioned her wish in such a way. She knows Saviour mean is good, but that doesn't mean she has to like it. Saber. Shuru was concerned after seeing the servant in this state. He gave her a reassuring smile and nodded, it's all right. I understand, you're just concerned about me. Thank you very much, Shuru. Saber stated as she returned her smile. For a brief moment, the room fell into a comfortable silence. Rin eventually broke it by clearing her throat to get their attention. Anyway, it's better if we devise a strategy to deal with Castor. Rin stated. Ah. Right. Shuru nodded, and Saber nodded as well. So. It was clear right away that Castor Master was a student. Who is the question? Rin inquired. Shuru began to ponder at that point. No one in school, as far as he knows, is a magus or supernaturally aware like them. Except for Issei. Shuru had learned from Issei that the president was a descendant of the famous Onmai-ji. But Shuru knew Issei well, and he was not the type of person who would kill innocent people to feed servant. It makes no difference. I'm more concerned about Sakura right now. Shuru reflected as he remembered Shinji's death. Sakura will undoubtedly be devastated upon learning of her brother's death. Rin and Saber, who were discussing the plan, noticed Shuru's uneasy expression. Emiya-kun? Rin dialed. Ah? Shuru blinked as he drew something from his mind. Sorry, Tasaka, I've just seen so much today. Everyone we know. He muttered something. Rin gives a sympathetic look at that. While she maintains a facade in school, she has few friends. They are not friends who are aware of her status, but they are aware of her true personality, with the exception of the magus part, of course. I comprehend. Kirei has already taken care of that, with the exception of Shinji. Sighing, Rin said. Sakura. Shuru muttered, and Rin flinched unnoticed. Rin may dislike Shinji, but Sakura is still her sister, and she is concerned about her. And she becomes more concerned as she becomes more at ease with Emiya. Which is why Sakura is always staring at her. She recalls the moment she caught her glare. It's almost as if some female is very possessive of her. Mate. Or something along those lines. And she'd be lying if she said she didn't care. Sakura remains her sister. And she knows Sakura adores Emiya-kun. But the problem is that she begins to feel at ease around the red-headed adolescent. She tries her hardest not to show any interest and to bury her feelings, but oh god. Damn it. When Emiya-kun smiles at her like that. You. This is extremely perplexing. And extremely vexing. She only wants what is best for Sakura. As her older sister, she is concerned about her. She will not show it outside. The reason is that she strives to emulate her father, whom she admires. Oh, she should have known what happened to her sister because that man. Tasaka, I'm going to the hospital today. Sakura needs to be checked. Shuru stated emphatically that there would be no debate. Rin frowned as she realized what was going on. But she can't blame him for being concerned. She then looked out the window and noticed it was still noon. The battle had taken place in the morning, after all. Well. I guess it's fine to let him go. Castor is still injured, and Servant is unlikely to attack at this time. And he's not going to listen to me anyway. Perhaps it will also make Sakura happier. Rin sighed and said, fine, you can go. Shuru smiled as Rin said, but bring Saber with you. Of course. Says one. Shuru agreed with a nod. He didn't think it was necessary, but there was no harm in bringing Saber. Come on, Saber. Yes, Shuru, Saber said, standing and following Shuru. In the meantime, Naruto and Manaka. Here. This is a nice place to live. Naruto spoke as he, Manaka, and Bazet, who were being carried by two clones, stood in front of a clear field deep in the forest near the church. Can you come home? Manaka inquired, blinking. True, they intend to flee their old home for fear of being discovered by Castor. The plan was for her to stay in the cottage that Naruto clone discovered, but she never heard anything about making a new home. Ma, just look at it. Naruto shook his head dismissively. If you insist. Manaka murmured while tilting her head, making her appear cute. Naruto takes a deep breath before an orange mark appears on his eyelid and his eyes turn toad-like, indicating that he has entered Sage mode, and then he performs a series of hand seals. Senpi. Mokuton. Dai Shichika no Jutsu. Naruto completed the snake hand seal by clapping his hands together. Grumble. 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 As soon as he finished, a small earthquake erupted around them, widening Manaka's eyes. Numerous roots and woods sprouted from the ground as it began to move like a tentacle. The woods and roots began to bind together, and the hard and rough surface softened and polished. When completed, a two-story Japanese-style house will stand in front of Naruto and Manaka. It is not too high, but rather wide. In front of the house, there is also a Konoha symbol. By any standard, the Dai Shichika no Jutsu is almost identical to the standard one. However, this wood is far denser and stronger than ordinary wood. It can even withstand B-ranked ninjutsu, which means it can withstand a ranked noble phantasm. Enhanced with senjutsu strength, it will now remain intact even after being hit by an A+ or A++ attack. Naruto learns all nature manipulation as Emperor and host of all Biju-type chakra. He already has 5 nature element plus yin and yang as a result of all Biju, so he uses them to train and manipulate them. Naruto was able to create Kekkei Genkai elements such as boil, lava, wood, ice, storm, and others after years of training. Though not as advanced as Madara or Hashirama at high cage level, he can compete with Terumi Mei in lava and boil release. He does not use it frequently because he is more comfortable with normal element, but if the situation calls for it, he can use it. He trained in that to demonstrate his elemental power and mastery, and his title is real. Not only him, but Sasuke can do the same because he possesses Rinnegan and Sharingan. Not to mention how his superpowered eyes help him. Damn those superhuman eyes. He despises it so much. Wow. Meanwhile, Manaka is surprised. True, Naruto's actions were not unusual, but it was still unusual to have a house appear in front of you. Though I shouldn't have been surprised, but still. Manaka-chan, you can go in first. I'll remove some obstacles for us. Naruto stated that he knew a few finjutsu and barriers that could assist them. Naruto, I know this house is sturdy, but how do we get electricity, water, and other necessities? Manaka inquired. Don't be concerned about that. I've already purchased a large amount of furniture and usable items. As for electricity and water, well, there is plenty of mana available from the Boundary Field Rider caste. I also have a scroll with enough energy to power this house for a year. Naruto explained casually. As a shinobi, the most important thing was to survive, so he always brought something that could help him survive, even if it was in the deepest part of the woods. How many rooms does this house have? Manaka inquired once more. Each floor has 4 bedrooms, each with its own bathroom. The first floor includes a dining room, living room, guest room, kitchen, an additional bathroom, and 3 bedrooms. The second floor has only 5 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms outside. Oh, and the bathrooms and kitchen can only be used after my clone has set the energy. Naruto replied before crossing his fingers and summoning 20 clones, instructing 10 of them to repair the house and 10 more to assist him in constructing the barrier. Manaka only hummed in response before entering the room with a swarm of clones following her as Naruto left to fortify their fortress. It's more like a mini fortress than a house. Manaka laughed as she sat in the sofa that Naruto had removed from the storage scroll. She then cast a glance at Bazet, who was sleeping. The woman had been sleeping for 2 days and showed no signs of waking up. Naruto also had no idea when she would wake up or what would happen when she did. It's because the woman's body is already healthy, and her magic circuit is fine, but her soul is the problem, and Angra Mainyu power can help with that. Naruto lacked a cure for that illness. She looks at the woman, who has ditched her business suit in favor of a simple light blue pajama with long sleeves. She stares at her, who is laying with her arms crossed across her chest. What about the arms? Manaka blinked and looked down at her arms. There are 2 hands. Naruto. She summoned a clone who was nearby. Naruto inquired while transporting furniture. Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't that woman missing a limb before? She inquired, pointing to her new arm. She does, indeed. That was the puppet's arm. Manaka blinked as Naruto responded. Are you a puppet? That is a puppet arm. It was made for her by her boss. That won't be as good as her original arm, but it will allow her to use magecraft. Naruto elaborated. Manaka, upon hearing this, blinked before standing and reaching for the arm. She takes it and gently strokes it. It was soft like a normal arm, but Manaka could feel the hard part when she pressed it further. How did you do that? You know, you're Manaka-chan, I also study medical knowledge. I can perform surgery fairly well because I'm a killer and understand human anatomy. In terms of making puppet hands, I am familiar with making human puppets. Puppet? Human? Manaka mumbled, I've never heard that before. Human-made puppet. Naruto's words caused Manaka's eyes to widen. I'm not just in here during our stay, you know. He said something that made Manaka's eyes widen even more. You mean you went out from Fuyuki City as well? Manaka, surprised, inquired. Yeah. I managed to. During that time. Let's say you want to build a small network. And then I find the body of the little criminal. With a smile, Naruto clone said. Meanwhile, Manaka was shocked even more. She couldn't figure out why Naruto did this. During her time with Naruto, she realizes that the blonde is not entirely focused on the war, and that the war is merely a secondary goal for him. He is always interested in learning more about the modern era. While the original Naruto remains with her, his clone does not. He spent a few moments chatting with her before the war, but his clone spent time reading or even went out to do something she didn't know about. Naruto was able to spawn 50 of his clones, with 10 mostly used by Naruto to scout the city, 10 staying with him to do chores or read a book if he had free time, another 10 completely reading, and the remaining 20 doing whatever Naruto planned. Naruto appears to have a different plan for this war. Monaka has no idea what Naruto did, but that is exactly what she is thinking. Naruto had no intention of remaining in this world indefinitely. He had no intention of remaining on the throne of heroes. His first goal was to win the Holy Grail War, but after seeing all of his opponents, Naruto is confident he will win. That is why he shifts his attention to something else, returning to his own world. As Jiraiya's apprentice, Naruto learned how to build a spy network, and after years of leading people, it's safe to say Naruto is very good at it. He has already established a small network in this world in the Mage Association. He at least manages to learn about the wanted criminals and do the job quietly by capturing or studying them. Don't get Naruto mixed up with Orochimaru. He's not a science genius. He only wants to learn about the magic circuit and magecraft, which is why he captures them. It is to get to know his enemies better, similar to how a certain Magus killer gets to know his opponent. He's also not very good at puppetry, but he can make one in case he gets trapped and has a limb amputated. It's better to have a puppet limb than fight with only one arm. Naruto is not your typical king in any way. Naruto won't be able to do what he did. No, Naruto is a fighter who rose from rags to become king. That is what distinguishes him. He did not choose to be a leader from the start, but instead fought and trained to be recognized by his village. That's why he has so many skills that no one else has. Wait. So you're saying you experimented on her? Monaka inquired. No way. Maybe. Yeah. Naruto finally admitted with a sheepish expression, but I assure you that the success rate is 70%. It was considered healing. Experiment if the odds are only 50-50 or less. Naruto defended his act by comically waving his arms. Monaka only shook her head, sighing softly and smiling. It's amusing to see Naruto like this. He has an adult face, but his whisker marks transform him into a cute guy at times. If only she could bring him closer. She really wants to grab his face and kiss him passionately. That expression on his face. Ah. She has it rough. In Monaka's defense, it wasn't her fault that her emperor was both handsome and molestable. Really. When Naruto notices Monaka has gone into another daydream, he cannot help but sweat and shiver down his spine. He didn't want to know what Monaka was thinking with that expression. Monaka appeared in her mind as she returned her attention to Bazit, holding the puppet arm and feeling it. Without a doubt, it resembled a living arm and also appeared to be one. The soft skin and the warmth. The only way you can tell it's a puppet is that when you check its pulse, she finds none. But did you really just give someone you didn't know an extra arm? Naruto snorted as she asked with narrowed eyes. Certainly not. You didn't have to be concerned about that. In that arm, said Naruto. He motioned to the puppet hand. There was an explosive seal that Boss secretly planted. If she does something bad, he will channel chalk prana into it and, boom, she will die. He concluded with a sly grin. I see. Monaka nodded and muttered, when is she going to wake up anyway? I'm not sure. It's already been 2 days, and it could be a week or a few more days. Or she won't wake up forever, not to mention what happened to her head after that thing was removed. Naruto responded with a shrug. Perhaps we can check her mind. Monaka proposed. I'm aware of that, but aren't Magus minds supposed to have their own defense? They've already put up some defenses, even if they're unconscious. And it was mostly planted by their parents since they were born. If you Magus reborn, the longer the defense is planted, the stronger it will become, and this woman may be in her 20s, so the defense will be complicated. Naruto responded after reading about Magus and memory manipulation. If he is summoned as caster now, he might be able to perform memory reading using magecraft. He can manipulate mana better in caster class, so using magecraft will not be impossible for him. That is, if he is familiar with Yamanaka's mind-reading technique. But because he didn't know, that was a major issue. He also doesn't know how to defend his mind if it is interrupted, because he doesn't need it. Come on, people. He's thinking of Kurama. Who the hell would enter his mind and meet the entity of destruction? You're correct about that. But I don't think her mind will be in right seeing that thing just. Manaka agreed with a nod, as her parent also added a defensive layer to her memory. Naruto's eyes widened before smacking his head with his palm. Without a doubt. How could he have forgotten such a thing? It was self-evident. Angra Mainyu's power will cause her mind to suffer. And it has already largely destroyed the defense. Yes. They are capable of doing so. How about Angra Mainyu power? It could be harmful to Manaka-chan as well. And with Manaka mental-chan's state, I believe it will be dangerous. I know there won't be any left, but just to be safe. We'll look into it tomorrow, okay? Just to make certain. Naruto informed his master. Safe? Manaka's eyes blinked. Nothing to be concerned about. Anyway, we'll be patrolling again tonight. As he moved the conversation, Naruto said. True, he knew he would tell Manaka soon, but it would be later, depending on the state of the war. When he told her, the closer it finished, the better. All right. Manaka replied with a nod, eager to see what would happen tonight. Sakura at the hospital. Sakura stares blankly at the cell above her. Her mind also went blank as she tried to remember what Ryder had told her. Shinji is no longer alive. Her brother is no longer alive. Caster Master. Tsuchiru Kazuki. Killed. Oh my goodness. He'll never be seen again. I just wish we were the ones who killed him. Oh well, too bad. With her big brother's death as Master of Rider, the servant of Mount becomes hers once more. She actually had no idea what to do. She has never been interested in this war. Grandfather simply instructed her to summon one and give it to Shinji. She has no idea what it is for. But Sakura sensed her grandfather was up to something. As if we didn't know better about that monster. What is she going to do now? Along with Nei-san, Senpai is clearly the master of this war. Her senpai spending time with Nei-san makes her enraged. What is she thinking? How could she? She devotes more time to senpai. She has been with her senpai since she was a child. What a jerk. How dare she do such a thing to her senpai? Worse yet. It's just in time for him to notice her. Damn it, I finally noticed her after almost 10 years. Not only does she not care about us, abandoning us in that hell, but she also has the audacity to steal what is ours. Putting that aside, she needs to focus on what she needs to do right now. Grandfather must be waiting for her and is well aware of Shinji's death. But the fact that he did nothing means that everything went as planned. And what that thing plan always ends in disaster. Senpai. Sakura tightens her grip on her chest. She is aware that her relationship with Senpai has become strained as a result of Nei-Constant-san's presence with him. Everything changed after she moved into Emiya residence. In a bad way. And just when he finally noticed us. Why did she come and try to steal him? Sakura sighed softly before returning her head to her pillow. She's been having nightmares lately. And the nightmare was a nightmare. She witnesses her killing and slaughtering innocent people in the city. She witnesses her murder of children, parents, husbands, wives, lovers, and everything else. It was a complete nightmare for her. Not to mention the city news, which shows hundreds of people missing and dead. Could it be? It had something to do with what grandfather planned. If that's the case, then... No. It can't be. Sakura denied herself mentally as she clenched her fist. But that isn't necessarily incorrect. Instead of thinking about it, she should decide what to do right now. She was planning to leave today, and it was clear that her condition was not too bad. And there's a fact about Shinji as well. She sighed once more. There are so many things to consider. Though she must admit that she prefers this place to her home. Without a doubt. Wherever is preferable to remaining in that hell. But she has no choice but to stay. No doubt, grandfather will want her to return home right away. Knock, knock. When someone knocked on Sakura's door, she spoke from her mind. Before she speaks, she wonders who it is for. Come in, she said softly. She immediately held her breath after doing so. It had to be her senpai. Her heart was filled with relief and happiness. Sakura. Shuru greeted Sakura with a warm smile as he entered the room. But her smile faded when she noticed Saber standing behind him. Of course, she shouldn't come as a surprise. He would never come to her alone. Senpai. Sakura reflected with sadness behind her smile. But, despite her best efforts, is it possible? Could it be that her senpai has finally taken notice of her? Could it be that he is developing feelings for her? No. Instead of thinking about it, consider whether she deserves him. Her? A filthy creature. A being tainted by insects, worms, bugs, and everything. No. She is unworthy of him. Absolutely not. I've come to see you. How are you? Shuru inquired as he entered, carrying a fruit box. We brought food with us here. Saber stated as she carried a box of fruit and bread. After all, food is essential for a sick person. But even so, seeing that smile on his face, hearing him speak in such a gentle tone, I'm feeling his warm aura. It was sufficient to make her happy. All thoughts about everyone were forgotten in her mind at that moment. She simply focused on her senpai, who approached her and sat beside her, Saber by his side. Senpai, I'm fine. Sakura stated with a smile. I'm relieved. I'm concerned about you. Shuru replied with relief and a smile. I've brought you some food. Eat it. Shuru, it's clear Sakura is still tired. You must feed her. Saber scowled as he lectured. Sakura and Shuru blushed at this. Shuru's face turned brighter as he began to sputter. But, Saber. That is incorrect. Improper? Isn't it more improper if you forced Lady to eat on her own when she was tired? Saber scowled. She inquired about the manner in which she used to live. And after a brief moment of arguing, more like one-sided discussion, Shuru was always cut down by Saber. Shuru eventually relented and began to feed Sakura his own red face. Sakura, who had been fed, felt a butterfly on her stomach. This has to be a dream. The happiest dream she'd ever seen. Her senpai has arrived to accompany her. Furthermore, feeding her as a couple. Yes. Perhaps he does love her. At that moment, all of her painful memories and events were forgotten and gone. As if they never happened. Sakura didn't care about anything right now. As long as senpai is here, she's fine with anything. That night, an unidentified area of Fuyuki town. Monaka and Naruto landed above the building, with Naruto carrying the woman in bridal style. He set the girl down, who pouted briefly before returning their attention to the location they intended to observe. They took out a telescope and began to observe from afar. So, what makes you want to watch them again? Naruto inquired via their mental link while watching Rin, Saber, and Shuru. Archer is nowhere to be found, but Naruto is certain he is not far from their location, probably 1 or 2 blocks away, and is watching them with his hawk eye. While Naruto can hide his presence using presence concealment, Monaka can hide herself using Naruto's shadow. The clone employs Maizagakure no Jutsu, hiding with camouflage technique, which coats her with chakra before manipulating light that reflects off Monaka's body, rendering her invisible. It's because I'm fascinated by King Arthur. Manaka's simple response was, I saw you fight caster, lancer, berserker, assassin, and rider. But I've never seen you battle saber or archer. I'm interested in their abilities. Saber is obvious, but archer is. Naruto fixed his gaze on Rin in response to her master's remark. True, he never had to deal with Archer or Shuru Emiya. Their conversation also does not reveal much. Flashback. So, Archer, what do you want to talk about? Naruto inquired as to why they were now in a private room. Are you from another world? Archer got right to the point. Naruto only blinked once before nodding calmly at that claim. I'm guessing there's no me in your past. Shuru Emiya. Archer stiffened as he responded. I see you recognize my real name. How did you find out? Archer asked, a little bitterly. Do you recall my enchantment body technique? That also strengthens my presence detection, to the point where I can detect your life force, Archer replied. He notices Archer's eyes widen in surprise. I detect everyone around me when I fight Berserker. Imagine my surprise when I discovered yours and Shuru-kun are identical. He paused to allow Archer to process the information, as can be seen in the world. There is no way for two people to have the same life force, even if they are twins. That was the rule in the world. If you look like him, you are him. With that, I'm guessing you're Shuru Emiya from the future. He concluded with a slight grin. As he hears Naruto's reasoning, Archer takes a moment to register it. It was surprising to see Naruto's ability to detect someone's life force. It was a very useful and powerful ability. But, given what he's already done, he shouldn't be surprised. I see. Archer spoke after a brief pause. He is aware that the Grail can summon something beyond space and time, implying that Naruto must be from one of those unique worlds. Who exactly are you? He inquired. Now, wouldn't that be telling? Naruto laughed. That was a secret, but you should know I'm not from here. Can you tell me why your presence is different from Lancer's and everyone else's? Archer blinked, not understanding what Saviour meant. You and Saber have a similar aura, but hers is weaker than yours. When he saw Archer's confusion, Naruto elaborated. Oh, about that. I'm not the heroic spirit you are. Counter Guardian here. In Saber's case, she's a little different, and I'm not sure how to explain it. Archer replied angrily, and Naruto blinked. Guardian against. That was one of the topics he found interesting while reading. It stated that they are champions of humanity's will. What that means is unclear to him because he did not finish reading it. What brings you here? I doubt the Saviour class is summoned in this manner. Archer inquired, crossing his arms. Naruto sighed and rubbed his temples. He couldn't hide it from him because he came from the future, and if what he believes is true, then... Shuru-kun, please tell me. Is the Holy Grail from your past also tainted? It is. Archer replied with a nod, his eyes widening. Don't tell me. Yes, the summoner is not a person. But the Holy Grail. Naruto agreed with a nod. The Grail knows she will be corrupted. She is already tainted, but she will be destroyed by Emiya Kuritsugu. The Angra Mainyu flees from the Grail for a brief moment, giving her the opportunity to flee and summon someone to save herself. That person is me. That makes sense. Archer has finally realized. Naruto was summoned as Saviour for a reason. Because Avenger taints the Grail summons the opposite class to save itself, Saviour, class of Savior and Messiah. But... she? Archer couldn't help but ask. Does the Grail have a gender? Do you recall the Grail's history? Justice. Justice. Juice. Juzzies. Jujzi. Is the one who was sacrificed as the Grail. Perhaps Lizrek von Einsburn. Archer smirked. Aha. Naruto smacks his fist against his palm while giving Archer a grateful look. That's all. Yes, I was able to correctly spell her name, but it appears I got it wrong again. That lady came to me and asked me to help her destroy herself because it tainted. He muttered sheepishly. So that's the distinction in this world. The Grail is becoming more self-aware in here. And it tried everything it could to contact someone, so it completely destroyed. Archer is aware that when he destroyed the Grail in the past, it was not truly destroyed. It simply ceased to be born. Another 60 years will pass before the Holy Grail War resurfaces, but not before Rin and Lord Elmeloy II, Waver Velvet, dismantle it. But when that happens, there is a major conflict. It was almost civil war at the time. He was also one of the supporters, so it was eventually closed. Fortunately, no war broke out as a result of this. The one who struck the Holy Grail is Saber Excalibur. It was the second most powerful noble phantasm, only outmatched by Ea. And it still failed. Which means Saber's noble phantasm must be stronger if the Grail decides to summon him. As Archer considered it, his mind wandered to various scenarios. Without a doubt, he could be another Gilgamesh. The gods choose Gilgamesh from Mesopotamia to lead humanity. Perhaps the gods of Saviour world will place him somewhere in Asia, such as Japan. That is possible. Yeah. Does that satisfy your curiosity, Shuru-kun? Naruto inquired. Yeah. Please do not address me by that name. Although Archer's words contain some hatred, Naruto is able to detect it, add kun to it, especially. You're kind of creepy. Archer deadpanned the last part, which made Naruto laugh. He realizes it's creepy, and it creeps him out. But it was a formality that he used occasionally when speaking with ambassadors. Using the kun suffix will make you appear close to them at times. Now that you've finished, may I ask you a few questions? Naruto inquired, smiling. End of flashback. Needless to say, Naruto learned a lot about this world as a result of their conversation. There was no Biju at first. Nope. However, there is Shinju in this world. After all, Shinju is the tree god. The being thought to be the origin of all things. In his world, however, there was no crazy lady who merged with the tree and became a rampaging beast. Instead, it appears that the Shinju in this world continue to grow and evolve into another being. It divided into several parts. Some of its power connects to the world Earth and brings it to life. Some call her Gaia, or the world. Then it split and split again, sharing its power. Transformed into something else. Naruto has no idea what it is because he lacks complete information. Elia, or the will of humanity, was originally a part of Gaia. Then it follows humanity's instincts and becomes dependent, thus isolating itself from the rest of the world. It's no surprise that I enter Sage mode faster. This world is alive. It has more energy. Because of my limitations, I can't detect it. If I were still alive, I'm sure I'd notice this right away. Naruto reflected as he remembered his Sage mode. Unlike in his previous world, he can enter it faster and for a longer period of time. The energy he gains is also greater, possibly because this world is alive and provides mana better than his. But my world did not create something to kill me in order to ensure its safety. Naruto remarked sarcastically. During his research, he discovered that Dead Apostle is something created by the planet to limit humanity's ability to destroy their planet. This world is strange. He came to when he felt Manaka tug on his cloth and blinked before turning to face her. You've been dazed for almost 10 minutes, what's the matter? Oh no, nothing. It just reminded me of a conversation I had with Archer. So, where are they now? Naruto raised his telescope once more and began searching for Saber and their group. They appear to intend to attack Castor. Perhaps because you injured her, they wish to finish her. Manaka stated. I see. That was a wise move, but it appears that we will not be fighting tonight, Manaka-chan. Castor will undoubtedly be destroyed by the Saber group now that she has healed herself, but if Lancer is present, that will be interesting. Naruto informed her that if Saber decided to attack, the Castor group would be destroyed. Caster clearly has no chance against Saber magic resistance. Even with the assistance of an assassin, Archer is capable of dealing with him. Naruto had no doubts about Sasaki's abilities, but against Archer, it will be a different story. And if there's a Lancer, they'll need a Berserker. If the Berserker appeared, Naruto did not believe Archer or Saber would be required. The giant alone can defeat them all, and with only 12 of his lives. It's almost a one-sided fight. And, while Sasaki's sword skills are impressive, it has no power. He will die the moment he comes into contact with a Berserker, who can only be hurt by attacks of higher rank than B. Then it'll just be you and them, right? Manaka inquired, and Naruto nodded. Yep. Oh, no. This war lasted only 4 days. It's no fun if it ends that quickly. Manaka said with a sigh. She didn't want this war to end anytime soon. This is far too quick. She wishes she could see more interesting things. Though she is certain that with Naruto, she will be able to see more interesting things, the War of Heroic Spirit is one of the events she wishes to witness. And the next war will be 60 years away. Before Manaka could speak, Naruto first cut her by talking to her. I'm assuming you want me to fight them? Naruto declared. Yep. Manaka admitted with a smile. Naruto openly sighed. True, he wishes the war would not end so quickly. His plan and knowledge of the world are not yet complete. And going back to Sajiu's place now will cause him some trouble because his research is still incomplete. But he had no desire to fight anyone tonight. What? He has a lot of research to do. Well. Might as well finish this. Alright, Manaka Heim, let's go. Naruto dialed. Manaka only smiled at the nickname before leaping to Naruto and the older blonde catching her in bridal style before launching himself to the Saber group. Shuru, Rin, and Saber spun and saw 2 figures land in front of them, indicating that something was targeting them. When they saw the people, their eyes widened in surprise, clearly not expecting them. Sajiu. Rin groaned through gritted teeth, cursing inwardly. Saviour. Shuru mumbled. Good morning, Emiya-san, Tasaka-san, and Saber-san. Manaka greets you with an angelic smile. Yo. Saber-chan, Shuru-kun, and Rin-chan. Saviour greeted them cheerfully by raising his hand. Saviour. Why are you here? Saber demanded, her invisible blade already in her grip. Why am I appearing in front of you? Rin paled as Naruto asked back as a puff of smoke appeared on his hands, revealing his trench knives. This is terrible. I don't think we can beat him with just Saber and Archer. I knew I should have asked Ainsburn to join us. Rin groaned as she realized Saviour would attack them tonight. Oh, no. This is clearly unacceptable. No. Unlike Berserker, there may be hope. Saviour only has 1 life. If we get a good hit, he'll die. Archer, do you see this? She thought to herself. Rin, yes. What exactly do you want me to do? Archer inquired about his location. Help Saber, Emiya-kun and I will deal with his master. Don't let him assist her. And if you get the chance, take out Sajiu. Are you directly attacking master with servant? That's not like you, Rin. Archer commented, his eyes narrowed. Normally, I handle the master by myself. However, Saviour is a broken character in this place, and the only way to defeat him is through his master. Rin stated, and it is correct. Defeating Saviour in a fair battle is nearly impossible, if not impossible. The only way to defeat him is to target his master. If you insist. Archer responded as he observed the battle not far away. He draws his bow and prepares to launch a slew of swords. Saber and Naruto exchange calm glances, Naruto with a grin of course. Before we begin, I'd like to thank Saviour for assisting my master this morning. Saber stated with a gentle bow. Don't be concerned about that. I promise Shuru-kun that I will assist him once I have that kunai. I only did what I said. Saber narrowed her eyes as Naruto spoke casually as wind gathered on his trench knives. Didn't you use that massive sword? Saber inquired, recalling Naruto's use of the sword against Berserker. No, I use it to combat Brute. I can use it against you, but trust me, I'm better than you. Naruto smiled. I'm originally a brawler, not a weapon specialist. This can function as a gauntlet while also being sharp. Naruto takes a stance, as does Saber. Alright then. Saber accepted the response as she gripped her sword. Both of them planted their feet on the ground, hardening their posture and stance. The trench knives on Naruto's arms are filled with wind chakra, transforming them into a lethal weapon. The knives are not long, but they contain dense, sharp wind that can even cut Berserker's skin. Saber flexed her fingers before gripping Excalibur's hilt tightly. This foe could be the toughest she's ever fought, and possibly ever. She recognizes this man as similar to Archer in the Fourth Grail War, but this man lacks Archer's arrogance aura and is, at the very least, more honorable. While she despises him for spitting out her desires, that does not make him a bad person. And Saber knew Saviour felt the same way about her. Suddenly, Saber's eyes caught Naruto leaping to her. However, as soon as he jumps, Naruto twists his body, dodging numerous projectile swords launched from afar. The projectiles don't bother him because he moves as if it were a normal thing rather than a deadly weapon. He avoided them all while continuing to zoom toward Saber, but his gaze narrowed to where the projectiles were launched before returning to Saber. Archer provide assistance, eh? This will be difficult. Naruto reflected as he leapt into the air and appeared in front of Saber. Saber raises her sword to meet the saber knives thrust in her face. Claang. The meeting point of two invisible winds. The air around them ripped violently, destroying everything in its path. He matched my two hands with one? Is he using enchantment on his body like when he fights Berserker? Saber clenched her teeth and held her ground. Naruto moves his fist and pushes the sword away before thrusting his other fist, but Saber deflects it. He moves his right arm again, but Saber dodges it. Saber went on the offensive with a downward slash, but Naruto raised his two arms in a X motion and blocked it with his knives. They engaged in a momentary deadlock while pushing each other before Naruto managed to redirect Saber's slash to another path, move his leg, and deliver a kick. Saber drew her body back to avoid it, but Naruto continued by jumping with his other leg and spinning her. Saber ducked under the kick before raising her sword and delivering an upward slash, but Naruto landed and sidestepped the attack just in time. Naruto twirls his other trench knives and grips them like swords before spinning his body and slashing Saber from the opposite direction. Saber drew her head back, barely avoiding the attack as the trench knives passed her nose. She quickly rebalances herself before delivering a stab attack to Naruto, who dodges it, before delivering a slash to Saber's face, which the Servant of Sword manages to avoid. Naruto, seeing this, continues her attack, but Saber parries it, and they engage in a melee battle. Anyone who looked noticed that Saber clearly lost. Yes, her abilities appear to be diminished, but her power is also unusual. She isn't as tough as she should be. What happened? Archer, who was watching from a distance, took note as he stared at Saber. Not only him, but everyone else notices, including Saber, which confuses them all except Minaka and Naruto. It was a counter-hero trait that lasted only 1 minute but was extremely effective. It reduces all Saber parameters, which is insufficient for hero, but sufficient for Saviour, who is an assassin. 1 minute is excellent. Not to mention his bravery. Saber clenched her teeth as she realized she was losing to Naruto. This is far from over, she exclaimed. Saber paused before channeling prana into her hand and successfully redirecting Naruto's attack, causing him to stumble a little in surprise. Saber stepped forward before channeling prana into her sword, letting out a battle cry as she swung it at Naruto. Boom! Naruto was thrown into the air by a burst of energy, and he smirked as he clicked his tongue. Saviour wasn't too bad, but the prana burst caught him off guard. However, he suddenly moved his body and avoided countless projectiles aimed at him while in the air. All of the projectiles were only a few inches away from hitting him, but none of them did because Naruto twisted his body and completely avoided them before landing on the ground. Archer clenched his teeth in the distance. That was nearly impossible. He thought he had a chance in the air, but it appears Saviour is too good for him. It took a lot of skill to dodge all of them like that. Perhaps instinct. Not a bad pairing, Saber-chan and Archer. Naruto remarked as he returned to his original stance. What did you do to me? Saviour demanded, panting slightly. Why am I weaker? She screamed. She is aware that she is not as strong as she should be due to Shuru's condition, but she is not that weak. Oh. That is telling Saber-chan. Naruto laughed. Saviour was about to ask a question when she felt something drip from her cheeks and grabbed it. Her eyes widened even more when she felt a few cuts on her face. How, though? I perfectly avoid it. Saviour considered this with caution. You are not the only one who uses the wind as a weapon. Saviour, can you measure my wind? Saviour commented as he noticed Saber's expression. Saber's response is limited to sharply observing Saviour weapons. The wind, like her sword, is clearly indistinguishable. She returned her gaze to Saviour after a brief moment. You might get first blood, Saviour. But it's not over yet. Saviour stated as she prepared to fight once more. Yes. Okay, let's get back to business. As Naruto took his stance, the wind on his trench knives became denser. Saviour only tightened her grip on her sword before resuming her battle stance, while Archer prepared another projectile from afar. However, Naruto took a brief glance in another direction before returning to Saviour. Someone has their back. In the meantime, with the master. Saviour, give up. Your servant may be excellent, but there are two of us. Rin threatened as she prepared to shoot Gander, the black and crimson orb already formed on the tip of her finger. Monaka only smiled at her, tilting her head slightly and putting her hand to her mouth, saying, "Let's just see, shall we?" She mocked. "If you say so," Rin said coldly. Shuru only tightened his grip on the steel that he reinforced on Rin's side. It will be stronger than normal steel and, while not as good as a servant weapon, it will be able to withstand a few good attacks. He didn't want to fight Monaka, but the circumstances demanded it. Emiya-kun, please help me if there is an opening. Rin said this before shooting the cursed sphere at Monaka. When Monaka notices this, she moves her other hand and throws something to the sphere. When it floats, it transforms into a plant and blocks the attack. Plant? Shuru exclaimed in surprise. Rin narrowed her eyes, which is a characteristic of witchcraft. Manipulation of plan and use is offensive, but very difficult study. Clearly, her reputation isn't just for talking. She might be as good as me in her own specialty. Rin clicked her tongue before she reinforced her leg and run while shoot numerous bullet of Gander to Monaka. Monaka, seeing this, moved her other hand, and numerous black feathers formed from it, before attacking Rin. The number of feathers outnumbers the Gander, causing it to explode in the middle and a few of them to be launched at Rin. When the feathers pass Rin, she moves and dodges the attack because she saw the cursed before. It stabbed the tree behind her and caused a large crack in it, as if it was stabbed with a weapon rather than a feather. That was. It kinda like black magic. Rin looked around with wide eyes. However, she was startled to hear the sound of something approaching her and turned to see a swarm of green vines launched at her. Shit! She exclaimed. Tasaka. Shuru rose just in time to swing his pipe downward, preventing the vine from reaching Rin. However, the vine was stronger than he imagined, and his steel can actually destroy stone. Fortunately, Rin was able to take advantage of this opportunity to flee, and Shuru followed her as they regrouped. The prana content of that vine. Rin murmured before turning to face Manaka. How do you get that much energy into that thing? She insisted. A little bit, and with formal craft. Manaka simply replied with an angelic smile. She actually sacrifices the human she kills and stores it in the seed. As a result, when it matures, the plant will be stronger than usual. It can even cause servant problems. Several swords suddenly fall on Manaka, but the shadow of the blonde woman bends and an Anbu wearing a fox mask emerges from it. Efton. Daitopa. Wind release. Outstanding breakthrough. A gale of wind was launched at the projectiles, destroying or repelling them. Rin and Shuru's eyes widened as they stared in shock at the sudden appearance of a mysterious figure. Do you think Saviour-sama will abandon his master? I may only be observing your battle, but if servant decides to enter, I will do the same. And trust me, you will die before you can call your servant here, the Anbu said coldly. He finished before shrinking down to Manaka's shadow. Rin cursed herself. Without a doubt. Saviour isn't that gullible. He'll delegate someone to protect Manaka. The only way to beat her now is by themselves, but Rin is certain that the Anbu will not let them kill her. This battle is clearly irritating. She burst out of her mind when she heard Manaka laugh. She turned to see Manaka smiling as usual. Tasaka-san, I will not accept your truce. I've only been watching since I arrived, and I'm bored. So. Manaka moved her hands, and the vine moved to her side, wagging menacingly, and slowly, Manaka opened her blue eyes, but there was no warmth or politeness that she had always had. Instead, it was cold, and it had killer's eyes. Rin swears she sees madness in those eyes. And the vines behind her, wagging and shadowing her, make those blue eyes even brighter and scarier. Shall we continue? Manaka inquired sweetly, her angelic smile still on her face. Not far from the battleground. Gilgamesh sits on his golden throne, watching the battle from afar. He does try to find Saviour, but he can't seem to find him. He isn't even aware of him. Assassin was clearly trained by this man. So he decided to follow his saber to see what she was up to. And, to his surprise, he discovered Saviour alongside Saber. That's what he calls a stroke of luck. It's almost like discovering two treasures in one location. He sees Saviour and Saber clashing, and while they were initially matched, Saber suddenly appears to be weaker and slower. It allows Saviour to take advantage of her. That was quite skillful. Gilgamesh had to admit it was one of a kind. What does he do when he meets someone with that skill for the first time? The more he sees Saviour, the more he realizes how intriguing his existence is. His talent has never been heard, not even when he was alive. Gilgamesh smiled as he noticed Saviour's eyes narrowing in his direction for a brief moment. This servant was well aware of his surroundings to notice he was being watched in this manner. It's not mongrel. This person may be more deserving of his attention. HMPH. Not bad, Saviour, you have quite the ability, almost like a cheap trick. But I'll put up with it. Though I doubt Saber will remain weak indefinitely, how far will you go against my Saber? Show me your abilities, servant of the Saviour. Gilgamesh remarked as he crossed his leg and watched the battle from a distance. In the meantime, at Ryudu Temple. The night is quiet as the Saber group confronts Naruto and Manaka. However, a movement appears at the gate temple's entrance. Following the first movement, there were numerous footstep sounds. A swarm of black shadow-like creatures with red glowing eyes stared at the temple before splitting apart to reveal the shadow. The shadow is ravenous. And it only needs to find a good person to be its food. Servants battle. You might get first blood, Saviour. But it's not over yet. Saber stated as she prepared to fight once more. Yes, yes. Okay, let's get back to business. As Naruto took his stance, the wind on his trench knives became denser. Saber only tightened her grip on her sword before resuming her battle stance, while Archer prepared another projectile from afar. However, Naruto took a brief glance in another direction before returning to Saber. Someone has their back. Whoever it is. It is not a regular person. I need to finish this as soon as possible so he doesn't notice most of my abilities. Naruto pondered. He knew it was risky to hold back against Saber and Archer at the same time, but he was still able to hold himself fairly well if only those two were present. After all he needs to do is use limited ninjutsu. With this in mind, he kicks the ground and leaps to Saber. The King of Britain tightens her grip on her sword before rising to parry Saber's thrust attack. The ninja then uses his other arm to deliver another thrust attack. Saber tightened her grip on the ground before blocking another one, but Saber was undeterred. He channels chakra into his arm, increasing his speed, and then delivers a barrage of thrust attacks with lightning speed. Normally, Saber will be able to defend herself. But she was still weak, and it was clear that nothing was helping. True, the effect will wear off soon, but Naruto has more than enough time. Giving a downward slash to Naruto, who dodges it, Saber goes on the offensive this time, moving forward and delivering a slew of slashes. But Naruto is able to easily block them all as he raises his trench knives and blocks her strike. Naruto pushed her sword away before delivering multiple Gatling fist attacks, which halted the Saber strikes. Block this Saber, then block another thrust attack. Once more, and once more. What the heck? He's speeding up. Saber reflected as she struggled to block all Saber attacks. The attack became more swift and lethal, and her armor was repeatedly grazed by the sharp winds. And her already weakened status as a result of Shuru's lack of prana is clearly not helping. While blocking the attack, Saber managed to catch Naruto's blue eyes, which turned deep blood red with a slit for a brief moment, causing her to blink in surprise before returning to blue. 10 seconds to go. She's pretty good at holding herself up this far. I even increased my speed with Kyuubi chakra and she still managed to block it. I should finish this now, as expected from King Arthur. Naruto twisted his stance this time before his left trench knives parried Saber sword, leaving her open and Naruto's right hand glowing dangerously with wind chakra. Efkin, wind fist, wind release. Naruto's right fist, which is covered in trench knives, connects to Saber's chest. There was silence for 1 second before Saber's body shook violently and she blasted away as if hit by a torrent of wind. Baang. Bakramm. Efkin is only a C rank bordering on AB rank ninjutsu, so it was a C+ noble phantasm. It has an offensive hit strength of A or A+. It attacks with one of Asuma Sarutobi's techniques, AN. The one in PS2 Naruto Ultimate Ninja 5, I don't know what it's called so I named it myself. If you get hit from afar, it won't hurt as much, but if you get hit close, it will hurt a lot. That was a different story. Naruto witnessed Saber crash into an abandoned house, which also collapsed and buried her. One down. Muttered Naruto. He's glad he finished it quickly because that attack would normally do nothing to Saber. It may temporarily demoralize her, but it will not be enough to bring her down. The weakened Saber, on the other hand, is a different story. Naruto returns to the location where Archer was previously, and he is certain of the future. Emiya Shuru had a surprised expression. Will you come down with me, Archer? Or do I need to attack your master in order for you to come? He inquired loudly enough. A blur of red appears and stands in front of him not long after. Archer's face remains stoic, despite the fact that Kanshu and Bikuya have already appeared on his hands. Impressive. You managed to defeat Saber. Archer remarked as he took a battle stance and looked to where Saber had crashed. All I did was catch her guard off. Naruto shrugged before taking a stance. Show me what you've got. He said this while twirling his trench knives and gripping them in a dual swords motion, just like Archer. For a brief moment, Archer and Saviour locked gazes, their legs circling each other as they studied their adversary's posture. They then jumped forward. Saviour initiated the move by delivering a vertical slash, but Archer avoided it by moving to the left and countering with his own strike. Saviour simply raises his other hand to block the attack before twisting his body and delivering a horizon slash to the head of Archer. The future Emiya Shuru ducks and dodges it before kicking Saviour, but the blonde emperor raises his knee and easily blocks the strike. There was a brief pause before they separated from each other and moved their weapons quickly. Clang, clang, clang. Clang, 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 clang. As Saviour and Archer's weapons clashed, sparks flared to life. They move their hands, which have blurred due to their speeds, and their feet, which move quickly to avoid each other's attacks. Naruto had no trouble blocking and delivering strikes to Archer. He clearly holds himself back in order to match Archer's abilities, and he is curious how Shuru Emiya will fare in the future. Meanwhile, Archer clenched his teeth. Saviour clearly did not take him seriously in close combat, as he was clearly outmatched from the start. Not surprising, given that Saviour outmatched Saber in skill and did not specialize in blade. Archer swings Byakuya while Saviour swings his trench knives. They appear a few feet apart with flash. Their faces are also turned in opposite directions. Break. Break. Archer's swords crumble to dust, and numerous cuts appear on his arms, followed by blood from the wounds. Archer clenched his teeth as he turned to see Saviour standing there, twirling his weapons thoughtfully. I can tell you're not very good with a sword. Even though your projection ability isn't bad. Naruto hummed as he looked at Archer with interest. He actually wants to know what Shuru specializes in because becoming a counter guardian implies that he has some skills. HMPH. This time, Archer only smirked as he traced the bow. Then let me show you how good I am. According to Archer. Oh, a bow, you say? Okay, then. Please demonstrate. Naruto smirked back, but before he could do anything, the house where Saviour was buried exploded, and the King of Britain charged at Naruto with greater speed. Naruto was caught off guard when Saviour appeared in front of her, blood dripping from her mouth and forehead. Prana's power burst from her sword as she stared at him with sharp eyes. Oh, crap. Naruto quickly drew his trench knives to stop the attack, but it was too late. Boom. Naruto is blown away by an explosion caused by a prana burst from a saber attack, which causes some damage as a burn mark on Naruto. He cursed himself inwardly for underestimating Saber. It's one thing to avoid an arrow. How about the explosion? Archer smirked as he summoned a specific spiral sword. I am the marrow of my sword. A large amount of prana gathered on the spiraling sword as energy flowed to it. It alerts everyone, including Saber, who looks at Archer in surprise. Naruto's eyes have widened in the sky, and that sword. It's not your typical sword. It's almost as if broken. He can feel the intensity of the attack rivaling Rasengan's imbued senjutsu. If that happened to him. Wait. That blade. It has an odd vibe. Damn. If it hits me. Naruto immediately retracts one of his trench knives. Kalidbald. Archer yelled as he released the fake sword that had transformed into Broken Phantasm and launched it at Naruto. Swoosh. The speed was fast, and it was different from Archer's usual attack. It was more powerful, faster, and clearly more dangerous. Even if Naruto manages to avoid it, it will explode and strike him. Zuuuuuuun. To Archer and Saber's surprise, the spiraling blue sword did not explode. Instead, it appears to be grinding against Naruto's extended hands, and they see the space around his hands swirling in a vortex-like manner before slowly absorbing the Broken Phantasm. An explosion appears somewhere in the forest near the graveyard. Wait a minute. Archer's eyes are wide as he tries to conceal his surprise. Even Saber is taken aback by what they have just witnessed. What exactly did he do? Saber muttered in surprise as she saw Naruto land on the ground. She then notices Hiraishin's, the flying thunder god's, kunai on his hand. That was very close. If I'm even a second late, it'll be too late. Great. Now one of my kunai is somewhere destroyed, I need to remake it. Grinned Naruto as he twirled the Hiraishin kunai in his hand. He sighed inwardly as he considered losing his kunai somewhere. He can only use 30 Hiraishin kunai, but his Hiraishin kunai is special. It is heavier than normal ones, but it is also far stronger. All of his kunai are special and stronger than steel, but his Hiraishin is superior. After all, he was emperor of his world, so it is only natural that all of his weapons are the strongest, even if they are only normal ones. True, he can rebuild it if it is destroyed, but given the material in this world. Let's just say the kunai won't be able to use it in battle because each servant's strength is clearly different. It's better than losing my life, I reason. He finally thought with an inward shrug. That was it. What was it? Saviour stated after collapsing from shock. It's a simple trick. Naruto smirked. He wasn't a master in Hiraishin, but he could still transport that level of attack. Saviour and Archer re-grip their weapons, their eyes sharpened, and take a new stance. This man is better than I expected. What was it before that? Manipulation of space? But it's not possible. It's far too advanced. I doubt Caster could do it at that level. To absorb an attack and move it to another location in this manner. Inside, Archer was shocked, but outside, he tried to remain calm as he drew another sword and prepared to launch it. That sword in front of him is clearly not his noble phantasm. Kalidbolg, if I recall correctly, is a sword similar to Excalibur, except it comes from another country and is weaker. But how did he put it to use? Naruto thought with his eyes narrowed. His last move when attacking me. He certainly went faster. How, though? Saviour considered this with caution. It doesn't matter. I can feel my body regaining strength. He won't be able to put me down as easily as he did before. She flexed her fingers briefly before tightly grasping her invisible sword. This battle. I can't rely solely on Saviour, not while she's weak. To beat him, I'll need to use Reality Marble. Archer gripped his bow tighter. Shoot Archer when you see an opening. According to Saviour. Hey. You don't have to tell me. Archer smirked as a swarm of swords formed behind him, ready to be launched while he aimed his bow. Saviour burst the energy to her leg with prana and reappeared in front of Saviour. She swings her sword and strikes, and Saviour twirls one of his trench knives back to its original position before blocking the attack. It created a spark as they tried to push each other, and unlike before, Saviour slowly pushed back Saviour, who only used one hand. Realizing this, Naruto quickly redirects the slash before attacking Saviour with his other trench knives gripped like swords. Saviour manages to avoid it by taking a small step back before charging forward and delivering a slash to Naruto. Naruto quickly raises his trench knives, directing his chakra to his hand and fortifying it. He blocks the attack with one hand before striking Saviour in the face. The wind chakra grows longer and sharper, and it will undoubtedly cut Saviour. Swoosh. Clang. However, the invisible wind is blocked by Naruto's sword, preventing it from striking Saviour. Seeing Saviour stumble, Saviour takes a chance by knocking out his defense. Then she quickly delivers a slash to Saviour's chest. Slash. Saviour could feel her sword slicing through Saviour, and a pained expression crossed his face. Poof. Only for him, the log abruptly changed. Wha? Saviour mumbled. Saviour. Take care. Archer warns as he observes Saviour's posture, which resembles that of someone about to spew something. Gorika no Jutsu, Kaiten. Fire Dragon Technique. Great Fire Release. Naruto emitted a magnificent 3M hot dragon head flame-shaped spit. By all accounts, it should be ordinary B-rank ninjutsu with overloaded chakra. It may rise to the level of a rank, capable of turning Heracles' skin into barbecue. Saber's eyes widened as she saw giant dragon-head-shaped hot flames soaring towards her. She dodged the incoming attack by quickly channeling prana to her leg. BWOOOOSH. The hot flames burn everything in their path, including Archer, who jumps to avoid them. As they landed on the ground again, Saber and Archer regrouped. The King of Britain found herself panting. She can feel her mana dwindling as a result of using prana burst too frequently. That will not be a problem if she has a proper master, but she does not. Archer scowled even more as he realized he couldn't do much against Saviour. In close combat, Saviour is nearly invincible, perhaps only surpassed by Heracles or Saber in her prime. Heracles' only chance is due to his massive power. If he does not, there will be a problem, though it will be minor if Heracles is sane. They both came out of their minds when they noticed the area around them was filled with mist, white mist. Wait a minute. Archer focused his gaze as he attempted to use his ability to locate Saviour but found himself unable to do so. This mist. It was saturated with prana. Is this a Saviour noble illusion? Saber murmured, noticing the unusual mist surrounding her. Both of them tensed as the mist engulfed them. The area around them was obscured by the mist. Look at you two, so serious. They tensed even more when they heard Saviour's voice echoing from everywhere. Saber turned her head to look for Saviour. Saviour, demonstrate your worth. I didn't think you were a coward. Fighting in this kind of mist. Saber demanded angrily. Didn't Lancer tell you you could fight with honor? She and Archer hear Saber's chuckle from around them and can see his smirk even if they don't see it. How could you accuse me like that, Saber? If you want me to fight fairly, I believe you should face me one by one. Naruto said with a grin. But since you're facing me 2-on-1, this is already a fair count. I could use a trickier technique and finish it quickly, but that wouldn't be fun. Consider yourself fortunate. As his voice echoed throughout the area, he stated. Saber clenched her teeth, knowing that what Saviour said was practically true. There's no honor in a 2-on-1 battle like this, but she knew if she faced Saviour 1-on-1, she'd lose. She will not become obstinate and face him alone as a result of his taunt. It's true. He can fight dirty if he so desires. This will be more difficult than I anticipated. Archer scowled as he switched his bow for a sword, knowing it would be useless in the mist. Combat with the masters. Ahead of you, Tasaka. Shuru screamed. Rin cursed as she strengthened her leg and avoided another strike from the numerous vines attempting to crush her. The battle situation was not favorable for her and Shuru. Manaka is skilled, very skilled, as her reputation suggests. It was clearly a problem, given that the vines are not only fast, but also durable and strong. I understand she uses Formalcraft to absorb mana from some source in order to strengthen this thing. But what did she absorb to make this thing so powerful? And how many people does she sacrifice? Rin sighed as she examined the numerous vines. She can normally destroy it with her jewel. She can use it to cast A-class attacks, but she prefers to save it for emergencies. She only has 10 jewels to fight with, and she wants to save as many as she can. Though it appears that I will have to use a few to kill her. Rin sighed, knowing how dire the situation was. If Manaka was killed, the link between Manaka and Naruto would be severed, and Saviour would be lost. That could happen if Naruto didn't have an A+ rank in independent action. Rin doesn't remember, but she has to dodge a wave of black feathers launched like an arrow at her. Shuru, on the other hand, is struggling as well. He swings the steel he reinforced and pushes away the vines, but this does not stop a swarm of black feathers from launching at him. He tried his best to block or dodge, but it was futile because a few of the feathers managed to pierce his skin, causing him to hiss in pain due to the cuts and wounds on his body. Era? Tasaka-san, what's the matter? You didn't just tell me to give up a few minutes ago, didn't you? Manaka inquired as she moved her hand, and the vine approached them, followed by a swarm of black feathers. Rin rolled to avoid another strike before unleashing a barrage of gander on them. The cursed spell struck the vines and destroyed them, but it slowly regenerated and continued to target her. At this rate, we're not going anywhere. I didn't have a choice. I want to use this against caster or a servant, but very effectively. Rin prepares to cast an attack by pulling out 2 jewels. It may not be able to pierce Berserker's skin, but it is powerful and fast enough to injure another servant and is more than capable of dealing with these vines. She began to chant the spell as she prepared to blast the vines away, but Monaka noticed this and shifted her focus to Rin, commanding all the vines and feathers that also targeted Shuru to focus on her. Rin, fortunately, finished her chant just in time as her jewel stored mana glowing before turning into a blaze of flame that dashed toward Monaka. The flames consume all the vines like oil, causing it to flow to Monaka, who is staring at the attack with wide eyes. Given the amount of prana it contains, that spell can be classified as a C or B rank attack. Even with reinforcement, I won't be able to defend myself. Monaka thought with her eyes narrowed. Tisk. I have no choice but to use it now. Monaka pulls a seed packet from her pocket before tossing it. She started chanting, and the bag twitched before bursting into thick and large multiple vines. FWOOOSHHH. When the flame struck the plants, it immediately engulfed the entire vines as well as everything around it. Shuru and Rin were forced to cover their faces as a result of the blazing and hot wind caused by the flames. Did you manage to get her? Shuru inquired. Perhaps. That attack can actually harm servant. Rin responded while looking around at the scenery. The flame consumes everything and also burns the surroundings. It was fortunate that Monaka and Naruto had already established a large boundary field prior to the battle. Otherwise, no doubt people would have noticed. Countless black feathers soared to them from the still burning flames. Shuru is too late in reacting as the black feathers pierce his skin. He screamed in pain as he was pushed away from the attack and fell to the ground, his shoulders, forearms, thighs, and chest stabbed by multiple of them. Emiya-kun. Rin yelled, concerned. You are too concerned about other people. Shit. When multiple vines appeared, Rin's eyes widened. She was caught off guard by the vines, which wrapped around her arm, leg, stomach, and neck as she worried about Shuru. Gaw. She coughed up some blood as the bind tightened. Tasaka. Shuru yelled when he saw Rin's condition. Wait a minute, Tasaka-san. Shuru turns to see Monaka emerge from the flame. Her clothes were slightly burned, and there were burn marks in a few places on her body, indicating that she had not escaped unscathed. You make me use nearly all of my vines. If you used more mana, that attack would have completely hit me. Now. Die for me, please? Monaka said, her angelic smile still on her face. She made a motion with her hand, and the bind on Rin tightened, causing her to scream in pain. Tasaka. Saju-san. Allow her to go. Shuru demanded, pushing himself to stand. His only response was a barrage of black feathers launched at him. Shuru raised his steel to block it, but it was ineffective because the attack was too numerous. He was struck again by a wave of feathers, causing him to grunt in pain. Damn. What the hell is the matter with this girl? How can she smile like that? Shuru yelled in his head while staring at Monaka. Emiya-kun. Rin exclaimed as the bind around her neck tightened. Tasaka. Tasaka is dying. Shuru panickedly said in his mind. He looked down at the steel in his hand and noticed it was cracked in several places, indicating it had almost reached its limit. Not only that, but the steel was rendered useless because it could not cut or destroy the vines. Even if he manages to stand, how is he going to save her without a weapon? I can't let Tasaka perish. I can't. I require a sword. A powerful sword. A powerful weapon. Strong enough to allow me to fight. Shuru pushed himself to stand with a strong thought. In his mind, an image of Archer wielding dual swords against Lancer flashed. A lethal weapon. He grunted loudly and stood firm, blood dripping from his mouth and brow. Many feathers pierced his body as well. Powerful weapons like the ones he had. He reflected as he remembered Archer's swords. The magical circuits within his body erupted at that precise moment. The energy flows into them and gradually activates them. Continue your journey. Dune. Shuru-Od's magic circuits were filled with a light green sparkle. It began to flow throughout his entire body before focusing on his arm. Urish. Shuru roared loudly as he extended both his hands, the aura on his arm gradually taking shape. Monaka saw this and knew something was wrong. She launches another barrage of black feathers in an attempt to stop Shuru. Dune. Clang, clang, clang. To Monaka and Naruto clones hiding in the shadows, shock. Shuru's hands are filled with familiar black and white swords, allowing him to easily block all attacks. What the hell was that? Archer's sword. But how? How could he do such a thing? How did he make them? Naruto was taken aback. Shuru took Monaka's shocked expression as a chance and dashed, quickly appearing on Rin's side and swinging down Kanshu and Bakuya. Slash. Slash. The vines have no chance against Noble Phantasm, even if it is only a copy with real power. It cut them like butter, releasing Rin from the shackle, and the raven-haired girl gasped for air as she fell to the ground. Emiya-kun? Rin exclaimed as she noticed Shuru slumping, no doubt exhausted. She is on his side and will do everything she can to assist him. Monaka blinked out her shock, clearly taken aback by what Shuru had just done. Creating a servant weapon like that is something amazing. Well, that was interesting. Now, let us resume, Monaka said finally, gaining Rin and Shuru's barely conscious attention. She brightened her smile as she prepared to launch another attack. Rin cursed, with Shuru's current condition, it will be a difficult battle. She had underestimated her. She should have put 3 jewels instead of 2 so that her defense would burst. Shuru is now unable to fight because he assisted her previously. I can't believe I'm the one who's turned into a deadweight in here. If only I had taken Saju seriously from the start. Rin's thoughts wandered. However, before the battle could be resumed, the Anbu on Monaka's shadow appeared, surprising Monaka and the others. What's the matter? Monaka inquired of her bodyguard. The Anbu only looked in one direction before pulling Tonto from his arm and saying, "We got company." Company? The Anbu nodded as she blinked. And there are many of them. Prepare yourself, Monaka-sama. As he stated. Along with Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh's grin widened slightly, a gleam in his eyes as he observed Saviour, who had just knocked Saber away. The ability he demonstrates is something he has never seen before in his life. His speed and strength will be more than enough to place him in the Saber or Lancer class. Then there'll be the time when Saber regains her power, He knew that while that attack was effective, it wouldn't be enough to defeat Saber. She was temporarily incapacitated? Sure, but it won't be enough to defeat Saber. Saviour appears to have overestimated her. Then there was the time when Saviour was blasted into the sky and the faker. Gilgamesh realized it was all a ruse the moment he saw Archer summon Caligbalg. A forgery, a mere imitation. That infuriated him. How dare you? How dare this person steal his prize? How dare he insult him in this manner? When he sees Saviour use some spell and teleport the attack, his anger is replaced by admiration. That was undoubtedly an Age of Gods spell. Such high-level space manipulation and skill cannot be derived from the Age of Man. But Gilgamesh had never heard of anyone with this ability. With this ability and a flying fortress on his side, he should be very famous. Interesting. Very intriguing. Gilgamesh reflected as he poured some wine into his golden cup and drank it. Then his pupils constricted as Saviour expelled mist from the area. The mist clearly obscures his vision, preventing him from seeing anything. He considered pulling one spear and shooting it to clear the mist, but decided to wait.
He's curious to see how Saviour will fare against this.
And it was confirmed when, after a brief moment, a gust of wind appeared, blowing away the mist. Saviour appears to have already released her sword and realized her situation is dire. But then the mist appeared out of nowhere and began to cover them once more. To use noble phantasm so frequently. Either Saviour has a lot of mana or his master is quite competent. Then he blinked as something entered the boundary field. He narrowed his eyes, the aura of presence was familiar.
He was certain he had sensed it before.
No doubt Saviour and everyone else in battle didn't notice because they were too focused on the battle. But Gilgamesh was certain that Saviour would detect its presence even in the heat of battle. Ah, so it comes. Undoubtedly enticed by the battle. Let's see how this goes. Gilgamesh pondered. While he would normally come and present himself now, he prefers to wait and see how this plays out. That game drama really affected him. Maybe he should take a break from it for a while. Naruto vs. Saber and Archer. The mist spread throughout the area, blocking everyone's view except Naruto, who can use presence detection and presence concealment at the same time. He is not an expert at silent killing, but he can be stealthy if he so desires. Not quite as good as Master, but close enough. As a pro and an expert. When Naruto does not want to attack, presence concealment at a rank will make him undetectable. Few servant will be able to detect Naruto even if he does not intend to strike. However, there is still a chance that Naruto will not be detected if he attacks. Clang, clang, clang. Goo. Saber grunted as he blocked numerous Naruto invisible attacks. So far, the Whiskerer blonde fighting style is bad. Very bad for them. While they can still see through the mist, Naruto has the ability to become damn invisible as well. That was a major issue. They had a hard time detecting him before, and now he's even more difficult to find. The attack was not a weapon, but rather kunai, shuriken, and even giant kunai and shuriken. What's more, each of them is imbued with element. It can even cut them in half if hit correctly. Saber escaped her mind when she was forced to block numerous projectiles once more. There were shuriken that managed to graze some of her armor, but this far was fine. She cast a glance at Archer, who maintains a stoic expression despite the fact that he is clearly struggling. Blocking an attack is simple, but predicting where it will come from is difficult. The attack did not come from one direction, but rather from all directions. While blocking the kunai in front of you, there are also a few on your right and behind you. They have no idea how he did it. So, right now, Archer and Saber are standing next to each other, covering one another. This isn't going away. I doubt Saber got tired of doing this. Archer muttered angrily. In response, Saber only stares at the mist. This mist must be removed. It had to happen. Identity be damned, their situation is too dire right now. If she holds back, she may die. Aside from that, Saber doubts she'll be able to conceal her identity very well. Saber has already hinted that she was a king when she was alive, and based on her appearance, everyone can tell she is from Europe or England. She then focuses her gaze, hoping to see movement in the mist. Even if it is only a small amount, she requires it. There. Hold your ground, Archer, Saber thought with narrowed eyes. Saber said as she raised her sword. Huh? The wind twisted Saber's sword. She tightens her grip on it as it whirls. Saviour swings her golden majestic sword down to where she sees the movement as the wind that covered it slowly blows away. Invisible air. Wind King's bounded field. Boom. Saviour roared as the wind around Excalibur blew away the mist. It not only blows the mist but also the air around it. Saviour and Archer notice many kunai and shuriken that have been engulfed by the wind as the mist blows away and dissipates. To Saviour and Archer's surprise, there was no sign of Saviour. Where has he gone? Saviour grumbled as she looked around. The only response she received was that the mist began to form again. It appears he can easily recreate this mist. Archer expressed his dismay. Archer is correct. I can make this mist as often as I want. After all, my mana is X. Naruto's voice echoed through the mist. But that doesn't explain how you didn't get blown away by the wind. Saviour demanded, knowing that the wind had also hit Saviour. After all, the range is quite large. The wind did hit me, but I have air protection, so it was pointless. Naruto snorted, much to Saviour's chagrin. Damn you. This mist obscures the majority of our vision. Shuru is completely invisible to me. Though I doubt Saviour Master can compete in a 2-on-1 match, this is Saviour we're talking about. He must have a plan. Saviour groaned as he thought. While Saviour and Naruto were conversing, Archer took advantage of the opportunity. His eyes became more focused, and he caught a glimpse of a slightly hazy figure. He is capable of doing so, but... this is terrible. Looks like I'm going to need it right now. Steel is my body, and fire is my blood, Archer thought as he considered using unlimited blade works now. As he prepared to take down Saviour, he chanted his aria. Behind him, a single sword appeared, but it was no ordinary sword. It was Durandal, a legendary peerless sword with the sharpest blade in existence, capable of cutting through many materials with ease, though it specializes in materials that can be cut normally. It was similar to other swords in appearance, but its guard was gold with black, and a diamond shaped from gold was on both sides of the guard, and even slightly on the blade itself. Without saying anything, Archer takes the sword and launches it at the hazy figure he can see. Meanwhile, Naruto's instincts heightened as he sensed someone following him while he spoke with Saviour. His eyes widened when he saw Archer summoning a sword and preparing to launch it at him. And this sword is different from the one he usually uses. It is stronger and more lethal. Swoosh. Except for Kalidbalg, the sword speed has outpaced all of Archer's previous attacks. Naruto, despite his strength, has a normal body, and he can fight even if he is attacked by Kalidbalg or Durandal. But it will still wound him, albeit ineffectively due to his battle continuation. But how will the battle affect him? After all, he is not invincible like Berserker, who has 12 lives. After seeing Archer shoot Kalidbalg, Naruto managed to plant one Hiraishin kunai near the battlefield. So he used the technique of the second Hokage and flew away in an orange flash, barely avoiding the attack as the blade was only a few inches away from piercing his stomach. When Archer saw Naruto vanish in an orange flash, he clicked his tongue. No doubt Naruto saw it before launching the attack, and he should have known it would be difficult to catch him. Enough chit-chat. Now we will. Naruto came to a halt as his sensor flared. His eyes widened slightly before narrowing into a slit, and the mist gradually dissipated. This act perplexed Saviour and Archer, who saw Naruto materialize in front of them. His stance is still tense, but they can tell he is no longer focused on their fight. We've got some company. Naruto stated firmly, his gaze fixed on one direction. Company? Saviour inquired. Archer's brow furrowed in response. He slowly tilted his head in Naruto's direction and focused his gaze to see who was approaching. And his eyes widened as he noticed multiple shadows moving through the buildings, heading for them. What the hell? Shadow? This is terrible. Archer was wary as he summoned several swords and prepared to launch it. He's not wrong, Saviour. He stated unequivocally. Hearing that, Saviour immediately assumed a battle stance. She prepared herself by staring at where Archer was looking. What's next? Saber insisted. Saber. Saber and Archer turned to see Rin arrive with Shuru, who is barely conscious. Both of their conditions are deteriorating. Manaka is also with them, but she is not as bad as Master of Saber and Archer. Shuru.
Saber appears on Rin's side and begins assisting Shuru.
Shuru is a mess, with many pierced wounds on his body, blood on his cloth, and he appears exhausted. For the time being, we will postpone the battle. Naruto spoke as he approached them. Saber casts a glance at Naruto and sees sincerity in his eyes. Reluctantly, she nods and Rin by her side. Still holding Shuru, she casts a glance at Archer in the future. Emiya Shuru withdraws his weapon. How many of them are there? Naruto asked Manaka, and to the surprise of the servants, a shadow appeared behind Manaka. Hundreds. The Anbu responded stoically. Naruto's expression darkens as a result. He detects a presence similar to Angra Mainyu, but it is weak. Although very weak, it is sufficient to chill another servant. Heal him, he won't be of any use to us if he dies now. Naruto gave the order to the Anbu, and the masked shinobi nodded before approaching Shuru, who was lying on the ground and being held by Saber. Please excuse me. According to the Anbu. Saber gave the Anbu a wary look before slowly nodding and letting him do his job, beginning to use medical ninjutsu to heal the wound. What the hell is going on in here? Naruto demanded Saber. Inquire with them. Archer was the one who responded, his gaze drawn to the shifting shadows. The shadows creep up the wall, the road, the building, the lamp, and everything else. When it got close, they jumped up and transformed into pure black werewolf-like creatures with red eyes. The aura that the monster emits is anything but positive. Even Rin can sense that the aura they emit is pure evil, filled with malice. Wait, what the hell are those things? Rin indicated the monsters that surrounded them. For a human like her, the aura she feels from shadows, even if it is slight, manages to instill fear in her. How about you ask them, Rin? Archer's sarcastic response caused the girl to stare at him. Manaka-chan, stay behind me. Naruto stated firmly. Manaka didn't even bother to respond, preferring to stay close to Naruto. Her usual angelic smile has vanished, leaving only a calm expression. Rin stood guard on Shuru's side while the Anbu continued to heal the red-headed boy. There are so many of them, Saber said, and he was correct. Unlike caster familiars, which number in the dozens or hundreds. This monster is clearly 100 or more years old. The shadow monsters bare their fangs and take a menacing step forward. Their red eyes gleam with venom as they prepare to hunt their prey. They charge forward with a roar. From the wall, the ground, the road, and the lamp. As the werewolf creature rained down on everyone, the sky was obscured by dark shadows. Saber-chan, give me some wind. Get everyone who stayed behind, Archer. Naruto placed his order quickly. Saber responds by lifting her invisible sword again, while Archer summons numerous swords, deciding to ask later because their situation is not conducive to arguing. Invisible air. Wind King's bounded field. Dai Enden, Kaiten. Fire extinguisher, great flame bullet. Saber shoots a gale of wind with her sword, while Naruto spews a massive flame ball. The gale of wind combined with the massive fireball to form a hurricane of blazing flame. BWOOOOOOOSH. The giant flame immediately burned the dark shadow. It ate them like paper, clearing the sky of dark shadows with a whirlwind of flames. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Meanwhile, other dark shadow barrages that managed to avoid being pierced by numerous swords. The combined attack gives them more time as each servant grabs their own master and jumps through the hole they created, landing a few meters away from the group of shadows. Stay with us, because this isn't something you can fight. Naruto stated unequivocally to all master. Not in these figures. He added. The shadow is fragile. Naruto is aware of this. They may be powerful, but if they enter servant, they may be the only servant with the F parameter status at the very least. But their numbers are too large to ignore. Even if their status is only F, if there are 100 of them, this can become a major issue. I'll blow them up in one shot. Everyone, take a step back. Naruto demanded. Huh? Exclaimed everyone except Monaka. Naruto performed hand seals with fast before inhaling massive amounts of air to the point where it appeared he was eating air rather than breathing. The amount of prana and energy that Naruto gathered did not go unnoticed as their eyes widened. Duck. Archer yelled. Efton. Fury no Shink Taigoku. Wind Dragon Giant Vacuum Bullets. Fury no Shink Taigoku is derived from Shink Taigoku, a technique possessed by Shimura Danzo. Wind, Naruto's original nature elemental, is the first element that Naruto masters on a whole new level. This is a more advanced version of Danzo's technique. Noble C rank or Phantasm Ninjutsu has at least a rank strength. Shink Taigoku is B rank. Raise him to a rank, bordering on A+. Fury no Shinku Taigoku is a ninjutsu bordering on S rank. The end result? A++ anti-army assault. Naruto exhaled 10M giant dragon-headed wind through his mouth. The wind dragon roared as it launched to the group of shadow and boom. It exploded the moment it made contact. The wind ripped apart the shadows like paper as it was sliced by the sharpness of the wind, and many of them vaporized as a result of the intense pressure that came from the wind. The boundary field that created also shattered as a result of the pressure. The wind not only blows the enemies but also the direction from which it came, as Rin was protected by Archer and did not get blown up, while Saber and everyone else held their ground from the impact, except for Naruto, who stared impassively. The area has been completely destroyed, and no doubt all beings who are supernaturally aware can sense the massive amount of energy. This makes Naruto wonder how the Holy Grail War is still a mystery after all of this. And when the view is clear, all shadows are exterminated, leaving nothing but a rough and very large crater. The spectator cannot help but be taken in by the scenery and display of power that Naruto has just launched. It was obvious that if that hit them, even Servant would die instantly. A+ at the very least. A++ possibly. Archer pondered with wide eyes. Is this one of his noble phantasms as well? Saber stared in awe at the devastation. It was as if a hurricane had just arrived and destroyed everything in the area. My noble phantasm is not a weapon. It is me, my body, mind, technique, and knowledge. My main weapon is my body. When I fight you, I always use a weapon, right? My real weapon, however, is my body. She shuddered unconsciously as Saviour words echoed in her mind during the feast. If Saviour truly possesses such a destructive technique as that, then I don't think we can beat that even with Berserker. Rin imagined herself shrieking. We need to get out of here. A civilian will arrive soon. Naruto spoke up, breaking the silence and removing the spectator from their minds. Call it a night tonight, we'll meet again soon. Monaka-chan, let's go. He said this as he gently took the girl's hand in his. Monaka had to fight the urge to blush that arose when she saw this. She gradually regained her smile and nodded. Hello, Monaka said. Naruto cast a glance at the Anbu, who had just finished tending to Shuru. He'll be just fine. All of his wounds have healed, and there are no broken bones, despite the fact that they were mostly caused by the Pierce attack. Before he went poof of white smoke, dispelling himself, the Anbu reported. There is silence for a few moments as Rin and Saber give Shuru a relieved look, while Naruto takes a moment to register what his clone has just discovered. So there you have it. I actually find it amusing to play with you all. We'll continue our battle later. See you later, Saber-chan, Rin-chan, and Archer-kun. Naruto smiled at them, and Archer's brow twitched at the suffix. Wait. Saviour. Saviour yelled, "She hasn't finished with him yet." However, Saviour and Monaka had already left in an orange flash, ignoring her summons. After that, there was another moment of silence before Archer broke it. "We must depart," he informed them. "Yeah, there's already too much going on today." Rin sighed and murmured. "The battle this morning at school, the battle against Monaka, and now this." Shadow. She is unable to think about it. Not right now. It was too much for her not to be sore and in pain. She was not as well healed as Shuru, and she had a couple of cracked bones and bruises on her body. She needs to be calm tonight. They'll talk about it tomorrow. Event. They are in desperate need of rest right now. I concur. Let's go back. Saviour said this while carrying Shuru on her shoulder. As a result, the group disperses. But it was clear that they were aware of two events that would occur tonight. They are defeated. It wasn't a tie. It was their defeat. And whatever that shadow is, it will bring bad news. They just had a feeling. Along with Gilgamesh. The Golden King, who has been watching since the beginning, let out a chuckle. Strong. Saviour is undeniably powerful, as Gilgamesh admits. Although not as powerful as him, Saviour's skill should be recognized. To display manipulation elements and other such things. It's not magic. However, it is not magic. It was something different. Something he's never seen before, and he's the king of heroes. The world's mightiest king. So seeing Saviour abilities was obviously very amusing and interesting for him. HMPH. The show is quite entertaining. But don't be too happy, Saviour. You still have room to grow. Keep entertaining me, and maybe I'll recognize you as king, not some pretender. Gilgamesh stated as he stood from his throne, which had turned to golden particles, followed by him. In the meantime, at Ryudu Temple, the high-pitched sound can be heard. The drawn sword glints in the moonlight as it clatters to the stairs. Goo. Blood is on the assassin's lips. The man on his knees on the stone steps waves goodbye to his longsword as it falls away. Splat. His arms are the next to give way. Wet with blood, his battle coat's elegantly patterned fabric resembles a massive red flower. My. I didn't think you belonged to the serpent family. He muttered something. His lips are white, in stark contrast to his bloodied body. Neither breath nor blood is passing through his throat. Internal organs of Sasaki Kojiru no longer serve their original purpose. The mountain gate is impressive. The servant who guards the location. The apparition of a shadow. They neither move. The battle is already over. The shadow defeated the assassin in a matter of seconds. He hadn't even had a chance to identify the entity that attacked and tore him apart, let alone cross swords. The assassin's body explodes. He can't even take his own life because he's been torn apart, mutilated, and lacks a weapon. To keep something evil from being born from his flesh. The shadow is approaching. It makes a scornful kissing gesture to assassin's cheek. Crunch. Splaat. And then blood and flesh erupt from the assassin's body. The deformed, spider-like hand emerges from his stomach. Assassin feels his bones crack, his flesh ripped apart, as if his organs have bended, morphed, and are turning to someone else's. Goo. Assassin coughed as he felt something move in his body. He's going to die. He can sense it. This is the final act. He will die, and his body will be transformed into this item. While staring at the moonlight, Assassin smiled bitterly. So, do whatever you want. After all, it's coming from me. I'm sure it's nothing noble looking. Assassin smirks, despite being denied the honorable death he desires. If one speaks of a grand spectacle, his grin is grander than the creation of this abomination. My only regret. I can't die in the hands of Saviour Dono, nor do I have a chance to fight the real him. Hey. After all, I've only been a wraith since the beginning. Of course, I don't deserve to do that to a man of honor like Saviour Dono, but a man can hope, right? Before closing his eyes and dying, the assassin had one last bitter thought. Splat, splat. Another splatter of blood and flesh on the ground echoed. And it has been summoned. Taking the flesh of the false servant as its own. The world is introduced to the true assassin. Kiki. Kiki, kikakiki. His first cries are similar to those of an insect. The black insect that crawled out of the swordsman's stomach devours his own nursery. He laughs as he rips the flesh apart. He laughs as he crunches on the bones. Every time he does so, the insect grows more human-like, and the empty brain gains human wisdom. After a while, he finishes sipping every last drop of blood and blesses the birth of his own self, the assassin. Only the chorus of insects, the gleaming moonlight, and the shadow can be seen. The high-pitched birth cry fades into the night. The moon is all-powerful. It was truly tragic. It's very beautiful to see the moonlight in the night. But that night was also the night an abomination was born. Under the blackened sky, a white skull laughs.
That's it for today. If you enjoyed this video, give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.